Welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast brought to you by Tacticam. Tacticam is by far the easiest way to begin filming your hunts. Whether it's the 4K 5.0 or the budget-friendly solo, Tacticam has something for everyone. This year we're also working with Spartan Forge. So Spartan Forge is like the Farmer's Almanac on steroids. It's going to tell you when you need to be in the woods, and very soon it's going to tell you where exactly you need to be. So this is artificial intelligence, the same technology that they use to track bad guys in the Middle East. Military grade artificial intelligence used to track down deer. Deer in the South move differently than deer in the Northeast, than in the Midwest. So Spartan Forge is using collared deer studies, car deer accidents, historical data to pick up on trends of when and how these deer are moving. So right now, early adopters are getting it at the introductory price, and you can get 25% off by using code BOWHUNTER at spartanforge.ai. But I can tell you that big things are coming, and it's going to be incredibly significant. And that price is going to stay the same as all that stuff gets added. So right now it's available online, like I said, at spartanforge.ai, but it's quickly evolving into an app. And here by this year's deer season, there are going to be some incredible changes. So again, you can use code BOWHUNTER at spartanforge.ai to save 25%. This week's podcast, another saddle company, Cruzr. I put out a post, showed what saddles that we had and what everybody was going to be using for the season. And a lot of the people were saying Cruzr. And it's one of those things where it's tough to weed out fanboys, paid army, et cetera. And Cruzr, I feel like, is one of those companies that kind of burst on the scene. So it's kind of one of those that you look at with a side eye and say, is this guy just sewing out of his basement trying to sell, put up a fancy website? Who's saying these are so comfortable? And Chad reached out to us and said, hey, let me send you one of our saddles for you to check out. And I shot a video on it. That'll be coming out this Sunday on our YouTube, so you can check that out at the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast YouTube. But sat down and talked with him and listened to a couple other podcasts that he's been on, and tried out the saddle, and man, it is super comfortable. Great design, and a pretty interesting story. Kind of funny, I think, how he ended up making his own saddles and stuff. But a great podcast. I know you guys are going to like it. Last week's podcast was really good with Byron about budgeting. It's kind of funny. This is the portion of the intro where I say thanks to all the new patrons, but we didn't put Patreons in our budget, so that must have been why we didn't get anybody else to sign up. I was kind of chuckling about that. But either way, Patreon is a crowdfunding for creators, so to help produce the show, they give us a donation every month, $5 a month, whatever. It ends up being 17 cents a day, but it helps us, to be able to get this stuff, try out stuff. The recorder that I'm recording this on, the computer that I edit with, all came from Patreons. But we don't just take that money and put it back into the podcast. We do all sorts of different giveaways. So April 5th, we'll do a drawing for our giveaways. Tacticam has given us a 5.0 package. So that's the hunt package with the gun mount, bow mount, stabilizer mount. The Tacticam 5.0 and the Turkey Reaper, so just in time for turkey season for you guys in the States that can reap turkeys. Attaches right to the barrel, and you'll be hiding behind the fan, getting that right on the Tacticam. And then any footage that you get with that Tacticam, Tacticam reached out to us and said, whoever wins this, whatever they kill, have them send us the footage, and then we'll put it up on all of our social media. So that's a really cool option. We're giving away a Latitude saddle Alex from Latitude sent us one of their classics to give away, so we'll be giving away that, but it doesn't really do you any good because you have to buy all the other stuff, and on this podcast we go through about all the other stuff that you have to buy to go along with it. So Artisan Outdoor Fabrication said, hey, the same platform that you're using that bolts to the top of a stick, we'll give you one of those, but you still need some sticks. So I've got some XOP minis, a 4-pack of those. So you'll have sticks, a saddle, a platform, and then just today I ordered the new 8mm tethered ropes. So you'll have a complete saddle kit. We're giving away that. We're also working with Basemap. Basemap is by far the most inexpensive, powerful, best value in mapping that's out there right now. $30 for the entire year, and you get the entire country. You get all these different maps, tons of different layers. Right now I'm working on their beta program of the updated offline mapping with increased detail. So really that's amazing. Really happy with that. And then they gave us a code for 20% off. So if you use code Chronicles, you can save 20% off of the Basemap app, and so it ends up being $2 a month. So for $24 a year, less than one state for the year for the some of the other competitors, I mean, you get this super powerful Basemap app. But Basemap's giving away one of their pro packages, so you get that year subscription. They'll give you a hat and a shirt, so we'll draw for that. Spartan Forge is giving away a year subscription to their service and swag pack as well. And let me tell you what, like I said, for everything that they've got coming, it may be the last hunting app that you need to buy. Really cool. But in addition to that, the guys from Zinger Fletchings, so they're the 3D printed compression fit fletchings. I'm going to be using those up at the Total Archery Challenge this year. So I'm building a set of arrows just for the Total Archery Challenge and going to be putting the zingers through their paces. I've got them on some of my other arrows, and they group right with the other arrows they shoot. But it's difficult to make, at a point to shoot, out to 100 yards regularly if you don't have the range. So I feel like shooting them at the Total Archery Challenge is going to be a great way for us to do that. So we'll be giving away a set of those as well. So all of that stuff can be found if you want to sign up for our Patreon. You can go over to bowhunterchronicles.com. Up in the right-hand side, hit Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/bowhunterchronicles podcast. And then you can get entered into win all of that stuff. In addition to that, outside of Patreon, we're going into our 4th year here, and we thought, what's a bow hunting podcast without giving away a bow? So we're giving away a Bowtech Carbon Zion. I almost said the Icon. Icon is one of my favorite bows. This is just the newer version of that. So we're giving away one of those with a HHA Tetra sight and Tetra Veritas rest on it. That bow is going to be set up by John, and it's going to be ready for you. All you have to do, if you go on our Instagram or the website, you can just click on the link that says enter to win in our Instagram bio. It's right on the top there. And seriously, there's less than 150 people that have signed up to win this bow. So if you're listening to this, you don't have to be a Patreon. There's no strings attached. You just sign up. We're giving away this bow because it's something that we want to do. We want to give back to everybody that's listening. And if you want to sign up for Patreon, that's awesome too. But that's not necessary. We just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast. I think that you guys are going to love this one. If you're interested in saddle hunting, what saddle to buy, we kind of go through all the different types of saddles and everything on this podcast, but I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So thanks for listening. All right, everybody. Adam and John back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. John's back from Florida.
Unfortunately.
Right into this cold-ass garage. He's sitting in front of the Mr. Buddy heater, all bundled up. And coming from a 100-degree greenhouse today. So, John, welcome back to Michigan.
Yeah, thanks. So happy to be back.
So we're here, for all of you listeners, longtime listeners, whatever, new listeners that think that this is just a saddle hunting podcast. Well, here's another saddle hunting episode for you. But we're going to get into kind of like some of the nuts and bolts of, there's a lot of new companies popping up, and whether they're new or just, I guess, new to us, we like to try all the stuff and talk with them and see how everything's going on. So we've got Chadrick Rice from Cruzr on the phone with us tonight. How are you doing, Chad?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. I just got back from a nice family day hiking out at Fall Creek Falls here in Middle Tennessee. I don't know what the weather's like up there, but today it was probably around 60, sunny, super nice, getting me fired up for springtime.
So what is your, I feel like Cruzr is one of those things that kind of like just jumped on the scene. But like, let's take it back a little bit. Like, what is your hunting history and like hunting style? How were you introduced to the sport of hunting, or was it saddle hunting right from the get go?
Yeah, so basically, my grandfather grew up hunting, fishing, so I would go with him some growing up, but I really didn't get into deer hunting until later on in life. Basically, after I met my wife, uh, my main hobby was rock climbing. Started rock climbing in high school at like 17, 18 years old. Just climbed up until we got together. I was 25, I believe, and when I started taking up deer hunting, like seriously, basically had a rock climbing accident where I fell 22 feet, broke my ankle, pretty much was laid up for like 6 months, and then after that, she was basically like, you're done with the rock climbing. I don't need you getting hurt anymore. So, I had to find another hobby that I could basically get obsessed with. So deer hunting was the next thing for me because did it a little bit growing up. So that's I kind of fell into that, and then had a buddy who saddle hunted. He knew I rock climbed, and he was like, "Hey, man, I think you'll really dig this style of hunting." So pretty much my late onset career of hunting and saddle hunting started pretty close to the same time.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
I was 25. I'm 34 now, so that's about 9 years ago. I started deer hunting, and then saddle hunting close to about 6.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So what was your first saddle or saddle hunting experience? Were you one of these guys that hunted from the rock climbing harness and did it that way? Or, did you get an old trophy line or, one of the arrow hunters or whatever?
Yeah, my buddy, he had an old arrow hunter that I tried out in the Evolution, I believe. And then basically from there, we just hopped on the forums and I started hunting out of a sit drag.
Okay. And so then how
Yep.
did that morph into, creating a saddle company?
Uh, well, honestly, I've always been a tinker person who just like looks at something and says, I could either make that or I can do that. Basically, as soon as, not the first commercially available saddle, but the first one that was like streamlined, when tethered came on the scene, I was basically like, I think I could make that instead of buying one. And basically I sat down at my wife's sewing machine one night and made one, came up with one, and ran that for about 3/4 of the first season that I made that saddle. And after that, I just started messing around with different material and making different iterations. And that next season came up with basically what we're selling now.
So let me just get this straight, right? So, so John is much the same guy. I
Yeah,
see his wheels turning over there.
yeah,
You can't hear him, but I can see him. Um,
yeah,
and he's the same way. He's like, I'm not going to pay for that. I can make one and this, but you went from for most of the people that we talk to, and if you watch any of like the free solos and you listen to Alex Hommel talk and like the people that are
yeah,
around him, you know, everything except for what he does, right? In
yeah,
rock climbing is relatively safe. And you go ahead and have an accident or whatever, and your wife
yep.
says, no, you're going to stop that. But here, honey, just go and sew
Make
up
your
some,
own saddle.
Yeah, yeah, basically, yeah. So I don't think she probably understood exactly what I was doing, or else she would have probably nipped that in the bud as well, you know. So
Okay. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure that we, kind of address that. Um,
yeah,
but from like, I want to get into like what you're doing now and all of that stuff. But I'm more interested in, for me, even with like the ropes and a lot of the guys from rock climbing backgrounds are very much familiar with the knots and all of that stuff. And for me, even buying like some of the Oplex rope or whatever, I would rather buy it from somebody that has already made it, and I feel like it's their like liability. So how are you, even at that time, all the way up until today? How are you making sure that you're using the right thread? I mean, if you look at like boat covers that sit out in the sun, or like
sure.
old upholstery and stuff like that from old dirt bikes or snowmobiles or whatever, and you sit on the seat and all the threads pop out. Like, how are you when you're making the first one? Where was the research and stuff going into that, or were you just going to Joann Fabrics and saying, "Nah, this ought to do"?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that first one I made, it was definitely with some thread that was probably not up to par with the safety, you know. But then after that, just doing a lot of research, contacting thread manufacturers, and basically running it by them. Like, hey, like planning on sewing up a harness that's going to hold body weight. Like, what type of thread should I be using? And obviously they're going to tell you what product you need to be using. So, um, and then we have a thread rep, so we just bounce what we're doing off of him, and so we've definitely got the right thread to be using
And
at
so,
this stage in the game, obviously.
and do you have a background in like business or entrepreneurship, or in the hunting industry, or anything like that? Or I mean, like I said, how does this go from sewing them in your basement to a full-on manufacturing gig?
Yeah, so definitely I do have an entrepreneurial background. I was in business for myself for 8 years before I started this business. Um, and actually, my right hand man, my I don't know, I call him a jack of all trades and master of none, but he was also in business for himself for about 10 years before he came to work for me, and so there's a lot of business history behind Cruzr, a lot of entrepreneurial background. Um, the business I ran before Cruzr, I had a construction business where we would build high-end bathrooms and kitchens. So for me, the eye for detail and clean lines, cleanliness. Like I said, we did high-end bathrooms and kitchens and multi-million-dollar houses and stuff. So, um, that's my background. My right-hand man, he owned a flower shop, actually, believe it or not, and then he owned a trucking company before that as well. So
Okay, so you made, your second saddle and you said, okay, this seems to work for me. How did you take it to the next level or whatever? And then I heard you say on one of the other podcasts that you haven't, outside of that evolution and the mantis or whatever, hadn't sat in or messed around with other people's saddles. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because for me, in this, you know, quote unquote fanboy world, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard, and that's why we try and, like I say, get our hands on as much as we can and talk to as many people as we can, because if you've never sat in a saddle before, you're going to say it's the best one ever. And I'd imagine if you made one that was tailored specifically to you, you're going to be like, this thing's great, right?
Yeah.
So like I say, how do you go from, you made one that was really good? How do you make that jump and say, all right, bathrooms are cool, but this sounds like a fun way to spend some money, right?
Yeah, I understand where you're going with it, but yeah, I actually haven't sat in any other competitors' saddles. I've held a couple of them, but that was after Cruzr had already began. We have a shop here in Middle Tennessee, and we have people that come by and check our products out and stuff. They'll bring in, a competitor's saddle, and so I've held a couple of them in hand, but that was definitely after this had all started. And basically, I don't know. I think it's about choosing the right material. We're definitely using material that nobody else is using. Our mesh is quite a bit stiffer, as you can probably tell, than anyone else's. So that helps distribute weight, and the geometry of the saddle and stuff helps with the comfort quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't ever sat in a competitor saddle, but jumping into this thing, I just knew that obviously when I made that first or last rendition of the Cruzr XC, I had some buddies that had sat in other people's saddles and sat in mine. They're like, dude, this thing's super comfortable. And that right there is kind of what drove me to making a saddle company, creating a saddle company. They just encouraged me because they had sat in other saddles, and basically I made this saddle for myself. I never set out to make a saddle company. I created the XC for basically what wasn't on the market, and what I wanted in a saddle, and just so happened that it works for a lot of people. So
Okay. So yeah, from that perspective, and John's got the one in front of us here, and he's kind of going through it. We're I guess let's go through like your lineup, because you keep talking about the XC, and then you've got the S, and then you've got the new one that's coming out. So let's talk through a little bit of like what the features are and what makes them so comfortable. And that's one of the things is, obviously I listen to you on some other podcasts, and we've had some correspondence and stuff. So I kind of know like how the whole thing transpired a little bit, but
yeah,
it's almost like you just kind of like burst on the scene. And I think with these, with saddles and saddle manufacturers and all of that, it just seems like they just keep popping up, boom, 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 boom. And then
sure.
you have this, like I said, like from that fanboy mentality, it's really difficult to see, I guess, the actual person behind who's making the claims. And I'm not talking about the company. I'm just talking about like from that fanboy perspective. And John and I have beat this dead horse into oblivion. But, if you're coming from a 32-pound climber and you go to name your saddle, it's going to be a completely different experience, and it's going to be comfortable to some degree. So your first saddle is going to be like, man, this is great. And then the more you sit in it, the more you're going to realize, well,
This would be a little bit better if I did this.
if I was going to make one, I'd change it this way. So, like, all of a sudden, there's this new Cruzr company out there with the low and brow 2 dots, and you're like, what in the world are these guys, from the U.S.?
Yeah.
What's going on? Where are they coming from? And then everybody's saying it's the most comfortable saddle ever. But that's something that just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up, is that, this one is the most comfortable. And there's a couple out there. I mean, there's another company where, there's no resale on these saddles, and they're the greatest thing, and you can't get them. There's wait lists to order them, so trying to get your hands on one is difficult. And that's another thing that's problematic in the saddle world is, if you're in Middle Tennessee, it's probably pretty easy to just head on over and check them out. But, if you don't know anybody that has one or whatever, you're putting your money in who knows, based on, who knows recommendation, right?
Sure.
So I guess let's go through like the lineup and the features and maybe why it is so comfortable.
Okay. Well, the XC is, in my opinion, our most comfortable saddle that we offer. It's our flagship saddle. It's got a pleat in the middle of it that allows you to open it up. The XC is quite a bit bigger, based on your size. Obviously, we have 3 different sizes, and it's based on your pant size. We do account for some layering with our sizing. So according to your size, it's going to be quite a bit bigger than a lot of our competition. So that extra material, even with the pleat closed, it's gonna offer more support, more coverage, and then obviously we tell people, like, if while you're leaning, keep the pleat closed, open it slightly if you'd like, but then if you're going to sit, open the pleat up. And a lot of people, I mean, I didn't refer to it in the beginning as, like sitting in a hammock. This is kind of one of those things that like the community brought to light for me as well. Like when I first heard somebody say that, I was like, huh, yeah, they're right. It is kind of like sitting in a hammock. So I think that's probably what makes this thing so comfortable is the geometry, the stiffer mesh, the extra material, the pleat. It really is like sitting in a hammock when the thing's open. I know you guys have one and you're testing it out. I don't know what your opinion is on whether it feels like a hammock or not. I mean, I know we've all sat in hammocks, so.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of experience with a lot of different saddles, and so
yeah.
I answer a lot of questions from guys about like, I want to buy this saddle. Is it a good one? And there isn't a good answer. There's not a yes. I mean,
sure.
I don't think anybody. Well, a Hawk makes a piece of shit saddle, but I don't think anybody else makes a terrible saddle. There are better options than anything, but I always ask, like, what's your experience? And then I say that there's basically 2 types of saddles. There's, more of like a hammock style for sitting, and that's obviously, honestly, I think Trophy Liner's really that market, and I think maybe all of the other companies have gone like the other way to try and make a more minimalist saddle. That's what I call the other saddles. Like, so
Sure.
you have like a minimalist saddle and then you have like a hammock style saddle. So it kind of depends on if you see yourself more sitting or standing. Now with this one, like I think it's like a balance of the two worlds, because when it is closed
Sure.
for leaning, it kind of fits that more minimalist role, and then when it's opened up, you do get that comfort for sitting. And one of the things for that, like, and you had talked about this on one of the other podcasts, but like for me, I feel like leaning or sitting, like tether height and bridge length are most important to get that sweet spot for it to be comfortable. So, because I think that changes a little bit as far as like where you're going to be, the get that peak amount of comfort. But like when you talk about the more material, like when it's open, like my father-in-law was in this one on Thursday, and he's, how old is he?
I don't know,
65, 67 or something like that. And this is a medium or your size 2 or the middle one. And he had the sucker all the way open, and he's swinging around like a monkey. I can do this. I can do this. It's, so I think if he were to size it up, he wouldn't need to have it open to sit, and he would get the benefit of all of it. But I think, having it have, what do you say, 5 inches of more material with that pleat open, I think that definitely benefited his size, because he's not a small man. He's not very svelte.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's pretty stout.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the hammock or the style, I mean, I think that's what I think about the different saddle styles.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree totally. And that's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to have, basically when I made this thing, I wanted to have an all around saddle. I wanted to have something that was comfortable to sit in, something that was comfortable to lean in, and also have it to be super lightweight. I mean, the XC, the size 2, comes in, I believe, at 1 pound and 12 ounces. And that's with the bridge and obviously the bridge and the saddle. So it's actually not that much heavier than one of the lightest saddles on the market, so it gives you a lot of extra coverage, but also it's super lightweight. And then and the versatility of the pleat is, I mean, the key for the comfort of that XC.
So real quick, John, he's talking about the weight of the saddle. Like when we're talking about saddles at this point, is that a factor of yours? I mean, where do you come in on that?
I mean, getting rid of a 13-pound stand, going to even a 1 or 2 pound saddle. Now, like the trophy line, the very first one, yeah, that one's pretty substantial. But I mean, I take my saddle off. Like I used to wear it in. If it's a small, like a short walk, I'll wear it in. But I don't like having stuff dangling, even when it's cinched in. I got my pouches on and stuff. I don't like walking in with that, so I'll roll it up and throw it in my pack. And 2 pound, even if it's 2 pounds, that's nothing compared, especially to the bulk and everything of a stand. So for me, it's really a non-factor in weight.
And the only reason that I bring that up is because for new guys or guys that are considering it, like I want them to focus on the things that really matter. I
would rather have a saddle that's comfortable and weigh 1 pound more than be one that's so lightweight and that you got very little material and it's cutting into you and you're not comfortable. I mean, to me, I would much rather have a little bit more weight and a lot more comfort, because you're going to be able to sit a whole lot longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But I mean, as well as I do, there's guys out there that are like, dude, I just shaved an ounce off my kit. Like, so
that's the guys that are like going in and doing one stick in and all that. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, I'm not knocking those guys, but for me, I'm I'm 46 years old, and I'm just happy I can climb a freaking tree. And I'm not going to be trying to do it with one stick. You know, I mean, sure, I'd like
Sure.
to shave a little weight here and there, but when I shaved 13 pounds off my pack from getting rid of the stand, now I'm golden,
Yeah.
man. You know,
Yeah. And
I'll
that's
carry
what,
a couple extra sticks.
yeah. And that's what I tell guys who call us all the time, I'm like, you're going from like 14 to 20 plus pound stand, and you're cutting it down to maybe like 10 to 12 pounds worth of gear. It's like, dude, that's super lightweight compared to what you're coming from. So
Yeah, like my old climber, I mean, that was like 22 pounds. You know, that was the whole thing, though. But still, 22 pounds and bulky as hell. And now I got, if I'm running my Wild Edge steps, they're not the lightest, but they're nice and packable. I can throw all that shit on my pack and wrap my freaking saddle around it and shoot up like a rabbit. Now I can just shoot through any little hole
yeah.
as long as I'm not screwing up my bow. But
Yep. But as far as our other models, I mean, the S is the S saddle. It's our standard frame saddle, standard seat saddle. It's literally the same thing as the XC with the pleat closed. It's the exact same saddle. It just does not have a pleat in it. The Archon, which is our new 2-panel saddle. Basically, obviously, 2 panels are a big hit in the saddle industry. Um, every company out there has a 2-panel saddle. I just felt that it was natural that we bring our rendition of a 2-panel saddle to the market. You're going to get the same quality, the same comfort, the same uh, features that come with a Cruzr saddle, but now it's basically in 2 separate panels. So the adjustability of that thing is far greater than anything we offer. But it's I think that can also kind of be a pain when you're up in the tree, because you're having to adjust it more just to find that sweet spot where I feel like in our XC model, you just lean back in the thing and you're ready to go. So, but the Archon it's super comfortable. It's gives you a lot more adjustability, and probably you could find a little bit more comfort in the Archon than you can the XC, but you gotta search for it. It's a 2-panel saddle. There's more going on. So that's my opinion on 2 panels versus single panels. Both of our saddles are super quality made and super comfortable. But obviously, I'm biased to the single panel saddles. So
Well, here's the
yeah,
thing. Guys don't care about any of that, right? All
yeah,
they want to know is when is it shipping.
right.
yeah,
Can we get one?
Yeah, I already ordered
yeah.
one.
Yeah, no. Basically, right now, all of the pre-ordered Archons are completely finished, except for
Mine.
our leg strap hardware. We're literally waiting on leg strap hardware. We could send all the pre-ordered Archons out today if we had our hardware in. And we're having to have it made for us, specifically for us. So that process takes a while. But right now we're looking at starting to ship. Hopefully, if everything goes right, I mean, we're gonna start shipping those at the end of March.
Okay. And
Yep.
so in that regard, um, you've kind of gone through the saddles that you have now. Your saddles have different options as far as upgrades for bridge, buckle. What's going on there? What are the choices? Why would you pick one over the other?
Well, basically the reason we offer like like a base model. It's kind of like your truck, man. You can go to the dealership, you can get leather, you can get, sunroof, all that, all the add-ons. But I mean, if you want a new truck, but you don't, you want to get into it for cheap, buy a base model. We want to offer the comfort of Cruzr and the quality, but we also want to offer it like at an affordable price. So you can buy a Cruzr saddle. The XC starts off at $220. So that's coming in quite a bit cheaper than the other top of the line saddles. And then if you're a DIY guy, you can add on like the adjustable bridge and stuff like that. So that's kind of the reasoning for the upgraded like the buckle and the bridge, and that's the reason for the upgrades. As far as the buckle goes, obviously we were using a generic white label buckle, which is actually the buckle we had our saddles third party tested in. They passed with flying colors, but obviously it's a safety, it's a life safety product, so people feel more comfortable with that name brand buckle on there. So that's the reason we started offering that as well.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's just one of those things where when people are looking at it, they're going to say, what do I need this? What's
Yeah.
wrong with the other one? Why do I need this?
Oh, believe me, we get a ton of emails and a ton of phone calls. So,
Right.
but that's basically it. I mean, we want to offer these things because it's an expensive item. I mean, saddle hunting will cause you to take out a second mortgage on your home. You know what I'm saying? It's super expensive. But that's part of the reason we wanted to offer like upgrades. We wanted to keep the cost low for people who want to get into it, who want to get into a super comfortable, high quality, American made product, but at a lower cost.
All right. So you mentioned like third party testing. Let's talk about that, but I want to couple that with like, so what is your testing process? And then on top of that, are you still sewing these in your basement on the side, or what's the story with the manufacturing of these?
So we sew everything in house. We are no longer, since May of 2020, sewing these in my house. I mean, I brought the website online, made it live, and on February 25th of 2020. By May 1st, we were out of the basement into an actual commercial location. Right now, we employ 9 people, and at the peak of the season, which for us was in July, believe it or not, we employed over 12 people. I think 13, and then came back down to 12 throughout the season. Then we had a few people, quit on us, obviously. But yeah, and then third party testing, we send everything off to I can't remember the name of the company, but it's on the TMA website. It's the same people who test all tree stand all the manufacturers of tree stands. They also test like work harnesses, and they've tested basically everybody else in the industry saddle. That's where we also have ours third party tested.
Okay, because that's a big thing with, again, all these new guys that want to say, "Hey, I can make a saddle. I can sell you a saddle for, whatever," and just want to jump in and make some money, right?
Sure. Actually, I would probably disagree with you there. I think as long as you're using the right thread, and you know how to sew, and you're using the right amount of stitches per inch, basically any saddle out there is going to be safe. But the true, like, basically separating line there is going to be insurance.
Okay.
Insurance is, you know, you're dealing with people's lives. Like, this is not a game. My wife's in law school. She's worked at a law firm for a couple of years now, and it's, you know, so I'm well versed in the law, whether I wanted to be or not. I mean, she brings it home. So, you know, insurance, I believe that's what's going to separate people from actually being a true manufacturer business entity versus someone, you know, who says, "Oh, well, I can sew a saddle," because those guys are sewing saddles, and they're probably really actually quality saddles. But, like, you know, if they make a mistake and you fall out of the tree, who's paying your bills? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, all of the mainstream saddle makers, including us, we're all insured, and that's, I mean, I think that's key when you're making your decision.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you there. Um,
Yeah,
Now, we kind of touched on this a little bit at the beginning before we started, but you know, you guys have just said, "All right, we're gonna launch a platform as well," and to everybody, including me, without thinking it through, you're just like, "All right, here we go, another saddle company, another platform." You know, just got to be in the party. But
yeah,
the more I thought about it, it's like, you know, if you have a saddle company and you got to stand on your competitor's product every single time you go up and hunt, I mean, it's probably like a kick in the teeth every
Kick
yeah,
time.
somewhere.
yeah. It is. Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's talk about the platform that you've got coming out.
yeah, man. This it's called the Seeker. It's 4.5 pounds, 14.5 inches wide. Uh, uh, what I think sets the Seeker apart from other platforms on the market is we have a slanted front at 30-degree angle, which, you know, my Cruzr is all about comfort. You know, that's kind of what I set out to do. I mean, is create a comfortable product. If you're more comfortable in the tree, you're sitting for longer, and you're going to have more opportunities at the animal you're targeting. So naturally, I wanted to make the most comfortable or platform I could, and really, I mean, what I've seen in the community and what people have talked about is that angle when you're leaning, like, you know, your feet, they're either on the edge of the front of the platform, which is what, like half an inch, quarter inch maybe, or they're at a really weird angle. If you put your feet on top of the platform and flat, they're going to be at a really unnatural angle. So we wanted that full platform, but we also wanted the slant on the front for leaning, just to keep it super comfortable. So from the tree to the slant, it's 11.25 inches, and then the front of the slanted part is 2.75 inches.
Okay. And so were you a platform guy, a ring of steps guy, through your saddle hunting journey, or?
Well, I think anyone that's saddle hunted for any amount of time goes back and forth. I've hunted off a ring of steps quite a bit and a platform quite a bit. So I would say more platform than ring of steps, but it's pretty close. It's probably 40/60. So
Okay. Yeah, because I just have one of the little platforms on the top of my stick, and I'm not like one of these weight guys or anything like that. I want everything to just be easy, and so that allows me one less thing to set up. Um, and I've just been using that, so I'm not the best candidate to talk about angled versus flat because I mean I'm just standing on my tippy toes the whole time. So John,
Sure.
for you, like you've used the Ring Wild Edge steps, and then you've used the platform.
Right, and which the ring of steps is, it's okay. It'll get you by, but I definitely prefer the platform. And the platform I'm using, it's just standard flat one. And after a while, like if I'm doing the leaning, if I don't have, like if I'm wearing my rubber boots that have like a soft sole, it definitely cuts into, you get that basically a hot spot right in the middle of the arch of your foot, or depending on where you're putting it. But I do like one of the main things I like about the platform is that I can actually, like depending on where I put my tether, where I, tether off to the tree, the height of it, I can stand up and almost use it like a mini tree stand. Like I can shoot on my off side. So, but I could definitely see where having that 2-inch angle would take a ton of pressure off when you're leaning, and you'd still have enough where you could stand up and, use that as a mini tree stand, basically. So,
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to, once we get one in, we'll give it a shot. But
Yeah. So, like I say, for me, I'm just used to standing on a deck of cards, and that's fine. I mean, it's not like ideal. There's plenty of situations where I'm like, I'd like to be able to just stand up without hooking my lineman up and tying myself to the tree. But at the same time, I just don't like setting up anything else. And then I've hunted off I've hunted off a regular platform too, and it's just like I know it's part of your system, and you're just like, it's just
right, it's just one more. Yeah, it is a little bit more time consuming, but also when you get in that tree and you're at that top step and you're like, I just want it, like I just want my platform 2 inches higher, so then it's like, it's perfect. So then you just go up one more step and then just step over. And I don't know. I think a platform's definitely worth it for me. So, but everyone's got their own.
And I find myself carrying a ring of steps around with me anyways, because, inevitably my stick lands right on that knot, or it lands on,
Right.
this branch or something like that. And I've got to adjust, but
Right.
and
where platforms, most of the time they're adjustable. You just, spin the little set out, drop it a little bit or raise it up a little bit and change your angle.
And so is that platform going to be cast? That seems to be the standard.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be cast aluminum. We actually have a manufacturer here in Middle Tennessee. They're like 25 minutes down the road, which is super nice. We're saving on freight and stuff, so and we're able to bounce ideas off each other back and forth. And yeah, it's going to be cast aluminum. I think that's kind of the industry standard right now. We have some ideas for stuff in the future. Kind of some stuff that's not being done. So
Okay.
we'll just leave it at that.
Oh, come on. That's what
Yeah,
you're here for,
right.
Have another,
Yeah, well.
go crack a beer, get some bourbon, whatever, and open up. Tell us all the inside secrets, right? What, when are those expected to ship or go on sale or whatever?
Yeah, right now we've hit a little snag in our manufacturing. We're having to make a slight modification on the platform, just for a safety issue, basically. We want to make this thing as safe as we possibly can, but also, we don't want to deal with like recalls or having people have like broken parts on their platforms. So it's not really an issue. It wouldn't have been an issue, but it's just something that we feel like that we want to make the best platform we can. So it's something as a business owner, you're going to make decisions that are going to cost you money up front, but could also save you down the road. So that's kind of what I did. I made a decision, and it's cost us a couple of weeks, but I believe they're going to probably start shipping at the end of March. I'm hoping.
Okay, so not that.
Plenty
Not
of
that.
Yeah,
time
not
before season.
yeah, way before season for sure. I mean, there's not. If you want a secret platform, you're going to be able to get it way before season for sure.
Cool.
Well, I mean, is there anything else that you want to talk about? I mean, like what's in store for Cruzr? I mean, are you I, I don't want to say like overwhelmed, but I mean, all of this has come up like quickly. It seems like you've ramped up your production and you're offering new products already, and you're making changes to them already before you're even going to get them out. Are you
Yeah.
already working on all of the next like 2022 products? So we can expect more, just more progression from you guys.
Oh, absolutely. That's like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, man. We have ideas, we have dreams. We definitely got ideas for new products. Uh, Obviously the next progression would be a set of sticks, and we're definitely working on some. So, um, that's probably going to be the next item you see from Cruzr. We definitely have more ideas that we will be working on as soon as we get some of these other things that are on the table out and basically off our plate. So um, as far as this year, we're gonna be we're gonna be trying to get the all of the new products out and in people's hands, and we've been in talks with some YouTube channels, some people in the industry that we're going to be working with this year. We're going to be going to a couple of trade shows this year. We're also going to be posting content to our YouTube channel, hopefully. So, turkey season this year starts in April for Tennessee, and we're definitely going to be getting out and filming and probably trying to get some content out there and probably do some traveling this year as well.
Awesome. So you
Yeah.
kind of like made a nice segue into my next question before we wrap this up here, but uh, maybe it's apples and oranges, maybe it's way more cutthroat in the construction or high end home industry. But my question is like, how are you liking changing spaces from the hunting industry versus the we say construction or high end? Like, what's the? I mean, it seems to be we have a fun time talking with guys that are broadhead manufacturers because it's the worst thing ever to go into, in my opinion. It's either it's the best broadhead ever or the worst broadhead ever, right? But so now
Sure.
going into the hunting industry and then an even smaller space into the saddle hunting climate, how has that been for you as a change?
Oh man, it's been a blessing, dude. The remodeling and the construction industry, it's in my area is pretty cutthroat, and it's super. So the reason I just decided to go after a saddle company was it's super cutthroat. You had a lot of people that were starting up, and it was uh, a lot of small space to battle in, and it was hard to find help. So this has just been, this is something I'm passionate about as well. I love hunting. I love being in the outdoors. I love saddle hunting. It's just a natural progression for my rock climbing days. So it's I don't know, man. It's like living in a dream right now. I'm just loving it.
Good deal. Well, one question I always ask our guest is, what's your bow setup? What are you shooting? What arrows? All that.
Right now, I've so last year I shot the Vertex. Uh, Before that, I had a Hoyt Carbon Defiant. This year I'm going to try out the V3.
Sweet.
Yeah, and it's I've got a V3, and it's I really, really am digging it. I got a Montana Black Gold. I believe it's the Pro Sight, and shooting day 6 arrows with their Evo broadheads.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's definitely a great setup. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think that's kind of all we got for this evening. I thank you for coming on here and sending us a saddle to check out, and
Absolutely.
I mean, it's great to have one in house because I answer so many questions and talk to people, and we've got I couldn't tell you how many are hanging behind me right now. To just be able to show people and get on a FaceTime or something and be like, all right, here, look, like it's just so much easier to say like here it is instead of saying like, well, I think or this or that. But where can people follow along? Like you said, you guys have a YouTube and social media, the website. Where's the best place to get a hold of you and follow along with everything that's going on?
Yeah, the best place to get a hold of us is either on Facebook, Instagram, or email through the website. Also, our telephone number is on the website. You can call us. We're gonna answer the phone between 8 and 4 o'clock every weekday. You're gonna either get myself or Jerry, and either one of the two of us will also answer your emails.
Okay, awesome. And so, what is it? Just Cruzr for the YouTube, or where can people check out that content you're talking about?
Yeah, so we're going to be posting content after turkey season gets rolling. I actually got a couple of guys down in Florida right now that are filming for us. Hopefully they're going to kill some turkeys so I can get some content out there. But Cruzr Saddles on YouTube, and then CruzrSaddles.com is our website.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate the time. Thanks.
Yeah, Adam, John, it's good talking to you guys. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Thank you.